Right. Hey, Facebook Live. This is awesome. So here we are with Mack Story. We've known each other for the last 5 years,
Yeah,
4 or 5 years.
I think you're trying to make me famous today, looks like.
I've
been waiting 5 years.
I'm just so happy that you're in town. And, if you're from out of town and you want to be featured in the future and you've written like 5 books between you and your wife, or 6 books?
19 books.
19. Show us a few of the books.
A few of mine are my blue collar leadership series for the blue collar folks. And Ria's got some with her personal story about overcoming adversity and that sort of stuff.
Right.
But we focus on leadership development, personal growth.
Love it. So, and Ria's in town for a really awesome conference, which I'm really excited that she's doing. I'm so glad to have you here. And we had to put Mack to work here today. And we had to give him something to do because with 19 books between in the household that you've authored, obviously you're looking for things to do. So for those of you who are with us live or even watching the replay that I'll post so that you can watch this on YouTube double speed to get, as I always do on all of my teachings or whatnot, I will post the YouTube replay so you can catch up without having to spend the extra time second for second. But you are Facebook Live audience. As much as we love you, you are not the main audience because we're going to be speaking to the second camera to record some shorts. So we're going to just jump right into that. And, man, if I could just, we'll just have to figure it out, everybody that shows up from here on out. We're going to turn on the second camera. And those of you that are here on the Facebook Live, you can ask some questions. And you can also, I think Mack would probably be willing to consider this. People that are watching the replay that have questions, we don't have to be limited to this space and time. You would answer some. I mean, you're a pretty high priced consultant. This guy. I mean, you started getting my attention when you started doing some national and regional ATD conferences.
Yeah.
Now, I've done ATD conferences regionally out in San Diego with Your Turn to Learn and that chapter out there years and years ago. But you guys were doing stuff in Florida, and you're doing stuff in Atlanta where you live, and you're doing all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of stuff with ATD. We really like ATD from a standpoint of we believe they live abundance and they live the principle of synergy and win-win. They do it. They don't shut your brand down. That's from our standpoint. We're not really there as trainers. We're there more as speakers and content creators for ATD.
And I'm going to define that because a good instructional designer, which is what I've done and I've taught, and that's what got me into the Association for Talent Development.
Yeah, that's what they're really about, right? That
is about talent development. They used to have another acronym, and when they shortened the acronym, it was great. And I wish that I were on the board and of the local chapter as I used to be with this cool acronym that is not as silly as the other. It's not silly, but and a little double meaning for some people. So Mack, again, if you're joining us on Facebook Live, we are actually going to be doing some shorts to the second camera, which is right over your head. And what you can do is if you want us to circle back and ask Mack your question, how can I get my team to perform? How can I manage a warehouse or a manufacturing facility or a factory? And how can I get these everyday awesome people that love their families, that work hard, but they're maybe from a little bit of a different angle than the corporate high performance space? Mack is the go-to person because we're talking. You don't look like it. You insisted on kind of having the fancy.
You never know who's watching.
I know, but I'm looking more blue collar than you are, man. You're. I don't know anybody gonna show him the book again. Okay, this guy really wrote the book on blue collar leadership, even though he doesn't look anything like that right now. He is the person to ask, how did you have the personal transformation when you've worked? I mean, I've read your book, 80, 90, 100-hour weeks, 6, 7 days a week for months, I think. Yeah. I mean, the book reads unbelievable. It wasn't ghostwritten. It wasn't highly edited. I mean, it's like
I wrote it in a week. It takes me a week to write these books.
And the amazing thing is, the writing of these books is so compelling. I mean, it's just so matter of fact. It's rubber to meets the road. So all of that to say, those people are watching the replay or they're joined live right now and they're saying, I've got people to motivate, and the normal white collar leadership stuff, that we normally have to say to motivate people in a white collar or a corporate Fortune 50 environment, not necessarily going to be the same way to influence people in a normal working environment. And so you're the person. So we're not going to spill the beans yet because we're going to talk to that camera. Okay. And I'm going to basically summarize this. See, you guys are letting me say the words less succinctly, and then we're going to be on point for this. So are you ready to go?
All right, man. I'm ready. Appreciate it.
All right. So it's like I need a producer director to keep me on point here today. So I don't like the angle of that. We're gonna crank this up just a piece right there. All right, that's good enough at this point. Well, hey everybody, Nathan Eckel here with my really good friend Mack Story. How are you doing today, Mack?
Doing well, Nathan. It's a privilege to be here in Wilmington, Delaware with you. Long way from Atlanta. Yeah,
well, it sure is. And even within Atlanta, I know because I married an Atlanta gal who's on the northeast side, and you're on the opposite end of town. That's long enough. But here he is in Wilmington, Delaware, here on the East Coast. We are so blessed and privileged to have you with us. And I want to get right into your books because Mack and his wife, Ria, are leaders in this it's not a new industry, but it's a real powerful niche of blue-collar leadership. And you've got the books to prove it. So
yeah, I've got a few books here.
What we want to do is establish a little bit of credibility here. Could you just give us a little 5-second summary of each one in this short video? And then for those of you that are managing teams, that you're realizing the normal corporate Fortune 50 techniques to influence and motivate people may not work in the department that you're in, or the factory, or the warehouse, or the manufacturing facility. Mack's your guy. So if you could just go through these books.
Yeah, real quick.
Yeah, real quick.
Yeah, so what Blue Collar Leadership is for, I wrote this book for the front lines, and it's a book full of principles on how to lead yourself well. And again, the principles apply to anybody at any level. Blue Collar Leadership and Supervision is written for someone who has a formal authority position, but it's full of principles on how to lead others well, whether you have a position or not. Blue Collar Kaizen, I have over 11,000 hours leading process improvement teams through continuous improvement, organizational change. This book is how to lead lean and lean teams well, but the principles it's full of how to lead teams well. So I have Lead Yourself Well book, Lead Others Well book, and then Lead Teams Well book. And then we've got 19 books, but the 4 that I talk about the most with the blue collar group is the 4th one, and Ria and I wrote together, is Change Happens. And it's how to lead yourself and others well through change, how to leverage change, embrace change, and use change to increase your influence. Because most people are resisting change, so they're decreasing their influence. And all you have to do is decide, I'm going to embrace change and lead change, and you instantly rise up and show up on the radar of the decision makers, because they have to lead change. That's their job. If they don't do it, they're going to fire them and hire somebody else who will.
Excellent. So as you can see, we have a wealth of knowledge going on right now. We're actually Facebook Living this, and I want to give you an opportunity. Where can people find you? Because we're going to keep this video very short, and if you like it, I'm sure you will, you'll want to look at more of these videos that we're doing in this series with Mack. So where can we go to find out more about you?
Yeah, for the blue collar stuff, bluecollarleadership.com, and if you go to the home button, you drop down, there's a media button there. There's a lot of podcasts and audio and things like that. Then there's a tab at the top for each one of these 4 books. There's video series, free content on each book. There's audio books for each one of these books. They're on audio now. And so, go to bluecollarleadership.com. And then there's also a white collar button up there, and that'll take you to mine and Ria's main page, which is topstoryleadership.com.
All right, bluecollarleadership.com and topstoryleadership.com. Thanks for your time, Mike.
Thank you.
All right.
Pretty good stuff, I think.
Yeah, we're doing. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good up there in the video.
This is very unusual for me. It must be the lunch hour. Usually in the afternoon, I'm getting more hits and whatnot.
It might be the accent.
No,
They may not know what I'm saying.
No, that's a credibility booster for what we're doing here. Man, this is interesting. So anyway, those of you watching the replay, just send in your questions and we will take them after we're done. So we are going to jump into, that was the intro. Actually, we can just, oh, I like that view right there. I really like that. So I'm going to do another one and I'm going to summarize all of that. And then we're going to talk about the personal transformation from the view of somebody whose job it is to keep the production strong and to do this almost superhuman.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, well,
you mean from a
managerial? How do you motivate people who are not motivated by this white collar leader? Top.
They're not
50.
even attracted to it.
They're not even. Yeah, they're repulsed by it.
It's not for them.
They're repulsed by it. Yeah, exactly. So we're going to talk about that.
Good stuff, Nathan.
Real good stuff. Hey, everybody. Nathan Eckel here with my really good friend, Mack Story of Top Story Leadership and BlueCollarLeadership.com. How you doing, Mack?
Doing great, sir. Thank you for the opportunity.
I'm just so happy when my friends come to town, and you are in town. And in the last video, we talked about the 4 or 5 books that you have right here. So just flash 1 or 2 of the books.
Blue Collar Leadership. That's good.
Good stuff. But what we want to do in this segment is we want to talk about, you are the poster boy, okay? Now, he doesn't look like the poster boy. He looks like a corporate poster boy. He was the blue-collar, non-leadership poster boy.
You got to let me say something right here. I always tell the blue-collar folks when I'm talking and I'm wearing this suit that I've worn a lot worse and got paid a lot less to wear it. But this is a sacrifice to get the owners and the business leaders, the white-collar leaders in the blue-collar industries. This is their world. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of being like a social chameleon. But as soon as I talk to them and as soon as they want me in, the first thing I want to know is this what you want me to wear to talk to the folks? Because I connect with them better if I put my hiking boots and my blue jeans and that sort of stuff. So so that's a lesson in itself. You got to give up to go up. Every time I put on a suit, I'm giving up. Really? So this is just killing this guy to put on the fancy suit, but he does it because he realizes it's for the purpose of connection. And really, connection is what we're here to talk about today, because there's a disconnect in our world, in our country, in our industry between management and labor. Absolutely. And there is a disconnect between the white-collar brand of leadership many times that are espoused by many thought leaders versus what you've put in your books, which are the same principles. Same exact principles. You've been able to do that. So my question... They wrap differently. They do. They certainly do. So how did it wrap for you? Because there's somebody watching this video right now. You're managing a whole department of labor. You are managing a warehouse. You're managing a factory. You're managing a production facility. And the question that is burning through their mind as we burn valuable seconds is, okay, what's Mack's story of when he went from a regular hardworking guy to somebody that worked not just in the factory but on the factory, and really not just in the job, but on himself. So tell me and bring us into that story. What led me from frontline entry-level factory worker? What started my journey? Is that what you're asking? What happened inside yourself to cause you to change your awareness and do to put on the suit? It's not about putting on the suit. That was the last step, probably. Yeah, take us to the first steps of that transformation. Okay. Yeah. And I write about it in one of these books, maybe several of them, but that first step was when someone believed in me. Someone I didn't even know. I met him only one time, and I've been searching for this person since I started writing books, and I want to thank this person, and I haven't been able to find him. I went to HR and all this stuff. But anyway, this person was from Milwaukee. I was working on the third shift. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. I wasn't wearing a suit. I was wearing a blue jean apron, steel-toed boots, safety glasses, earplugs, and nasty and dirty, hot and sweaty. And but this guy come out, and I'm condensing it for you here, but he basically said the plant manager believed in me. This time, this was 1995. I had never, I tell people from the stage my nickname is 007. Not because I'm cool like James Bond, but that was my GPA. So I barely graduated. That's why 007 GPA. Yeah. That's the truth. It wasn't that bad. I may want to see a screenshot to edit into the video at this point, Matt. So he come out and says, I just had graduated high school barely, and then I said I'd never go back to college. But this one guy that I met, he was out there to do a time study because I usually had the highest productivity on any machine. Mm-hmm. So the plant manager sent him out in the middle of the night to do a time study with me to see why was I so efficient. But this guy come in, and I could speak the language now. I didn't know it then, but I felt it then. He come in and started connecting, building a relationship with me, shaking my hand, talking to me like I was a person and I was somebody and I mattered. It was unbelievable. And he was an industrial engineer from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So what he said, though, is the plant manager believes in you. Throughout this conversation, he said he believes in you. He said, if you go get some education, that you could rise up in the company. I said, you don't know me, man. I said, I appreciate your belief in me and that Don believes in me, but I won't ever go back to school. And we had our conversation. He did his thing, and he left. That's the last time I ever saw him. But the next semester, I was enrolled in community college. And to gather some credibility back, I graduated all of my 4-year degree with 3.9867. Carried out 4 decimals. Because I irritated, I made a C in one class, a 1-hour class, and a B in another class. Besides that, it was straight A's. But I decided to apply myself. That was the difference. Mm-hmm. But to take all that and wrap it into what was it that you're asking me, mm-hmm. It was the belief in someone else that inspired me to believe in myself at a higher level. And that's what, if you want to motivate somebody, you got to believe in them. They got to feel it. But, motivation comes from the outside. Inspiration comes from the inside. Mm-hmm. If I want Nathan to do something because I was here today, he's got to be inspired because I'm not going to be with him next week. He's going to be by himself. Motivation gets him fired up today to want to do it. Inspiration causes him to do it next week and the week after. That comes from within. So you have to be an authentic leader, individual, whether it's white collar or blue collar, mm-hmm. but especially with the blue collar people because they're very like, I don't know you, I don't trust you. You've got to be authentic. That's why I can wear the suit and connect with blue collar people because all I have to do is tell a story or two. And then I make a joke about the suit, and I got paid less to wear something not as nice as the suit, and they laugh, and I'm good to go mm-hmm. because I'm real. And it's the thing, you got time for me to teach you a lesson on rapport?
Let's do it.
You probably had a lot of training in rapport. A lot of you guys maybe had a lot of training in rapport. And what they teach are all these practices. Sit like they sit, talk the same speed they talk, wear what they wear, be like they are. Mm-hmm. Like we've learned from mutual sources that I'm like you, it's okay to like me. That's what rapport is about. But I teach everything in my books, and when you talk to me and hear me talk, I talk about principles because I want to teach stuff that applies everywhere. So to me, what I learned and what I teach is the underlying principle for building rapport with Nathan. If I want to build rapport with Nathan, what I know about Nathan before I ever meet him is you care about you. Not in, maybe or not, I know you, so it's not in a prideful ego kind of way, but it could be. It don't matter. People value themselves. That's what I know. I don't know how and why, but everybody values themselves. Mm-hmm. So if I can meet you and convey to you that I value you as a person, it don't matter how tall I am, what my accent is, what color I am, where I'm from. If you believe that I value you as a person, the rest of it doesn't matter. So that's the key to connecting with anybody, but especially blue-collar people, because they're looking for real and they're looking for authentic before they're going to buy into anything you got to say.
Great. So takeaway for this, I mean, we talk about how people need to have their heart touched before you can ask them.
Absolutely.
For
sharing
help.
A belief in someone is a way to do that. It's got to be authentic. Yeah. Can't be fake.
Yeah. And so you also articulated the two sides. So I can maybe touch your heart and make the effort to touch your heart, but that doesn't mean that the first time that I touch somebody's heart, they're going to decide, oh yeah, I believe you, and I'm going to go into community college and I'm going to get almost a 4.0 when I was 007 before. But in your case, the timing was right and the person was sincere and something happened so that sincere. You chose to borrow their belief and step up into the challenge.
And let me give you a big key because the audience may have missed it. The plant manager who believed in me had never told me that. This guy just had a conversation with the plant manager, and then he had a conversation with me, and he's the kind of person. I mean, he told me. Why did my plant manager never tell me? The reason is he never talked to me. I had a lot of respect for him, and he was a great manager. I'd call him a high-impact manager, but he was not a high-impact leader. If he was, he would have had that conversation with me, and I probably would have been enrolled months before because I'd be thinking, this guy because he knew how much of an idiot I had been in the past in my blue-collar days in his plant, and I should have been fired 100 times, but I wasn't. And if he would have believed in me and I'd have felt that, which there's another story about that where he actually did later, a year after this or so, and I mean, I transformed. That's another video. But the day he did that is when my real transformation began, because he knew who I was, and I was not somebody that needed to be believed in like he was believing in me.
So what I just took away from that is that I'm thinking about there are different levels of leadership. There are different modes. And you could be, people who are watching this, you might be a very high performance plant manager and you're making all of your metrics and everything's going good. Maybe the shareholders are happy, or the bosses or the owners are really, really happy with you. Getting great results. However, you're not as relational as you could be.
What you're leaving on the table.
You're leaving it on the table, and it took a relational leader who was also high performance, but using that relational piece and not a positional leader.
That's right.
But it could be all three. These are just different gears of leadership, and somebody used the relationship gear to say, Mack, I believe in you. I see the potential in you. Why don't you just take one? I know you don't like to go to school, but just take this one class. And it resonated with you. It made the difference. And then your performance, I mean, you read the books to find out the high performance that this guy was already doing. And then what happened after a little bit of education.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely huge. But for those of you that are watching this, that pride yourself, as you should, on being a high performance leader, if you dial down the gear and just practice switching gears and switching modes, walk slowly through the crowd. We have mentors that say that. Walk slowly through the crowd and start touching hearts. Authentically.
Through the crowd.
So it's not going to work the first time for a high performance manager or leader. But over time, if they see that gear and that muscle of relationship and caring, and you lower the mask and be a little bit transparent. I just did a TEDx talk on empathy. And I talked about those three gears of empathy, and I had to utilize it because some guys dug up my yard, and that was the case study, and it worked. But these gears that we can go to learn to exercise the muscle of caring and the language of leadership, it's a huge thing. So, Mack, I'm so thankful that you took some time to.
I'm having fun, man.
Yeah.
I hope you got 2-3 days because
I have 2-3 days. I know you don't. But we're going to do another video, and I'm going to chop these videos up for people. But if you're watching this, you might have gotten access to the extended version. So
it's kind of hard. We got a lot to say, though.
We sure do.
Thank you.
All right. What's my next question here? Hey, Facebook Live, how are you guys doing? I'm just going to leave that rolling because that's kind of the style we're in here right now. Facebook Live. Oh, we have a couple of people on Facebook Live. Lunch break is kicking in here. So the Facebook Live software that I'm using, if I haven't seen your comment or your question for Mack yet, rest assured, as long as our technology doesn't die on us, I will circle back after a couple more questions. We're already answering plenty of others. We're gonna go to lunch here in a little bit. Believe me.
I'm okay. I'd rather do this than eat lunch.
Well, we're gonna do both. We're gonna have fun. But all you have to do is comment. I will see it. I don't always see it on this software that I'm using. So and then we're also speaking to this camera instead of that camera.
That's the main camera.
That's the main camera. And actually what I want, as you're talking about making your, being others oriented, I'm realizing I'm hogging more than my share of the camera. Well, this is about you. So I want you to, you got to have you sit up straight and give you a little bit more of this. And the lighting is kind of worse for you than me. You got the shine. You got a little more shine than I do. All right, so
it ain't about the shine.
We're all having
it's
fun.
about the messaging.
It is, and that's why I'm not nearly as finicky as
this is
believe
authentic.
it.
This is what I like.
This is
authentic. I like authentic stuff.
Yeah. Well, when you don't have a crew to produce all this, authentic is all you got.
I love
it. So we asked, what caused you to grow and do the hard work of rejecting the status quo to begin to lead yourself? It was connection. What advice would you have for owners having to find? We talked about that a little bit. What are some of the beliefs that stopped serving you as a shift worker? We could talk about that. And then I want to do one. I have a friend who also is a former ATD president in a neighboring chapter, who's a great author and wrote a book very similar to mine on instructional design and knowledge transfer and how do you get the stuff. And I want to speak to that, have you speak to that knowledge transfer piece, because it's not just a white collar issue. It's very much a blue collar issue of knowledge work and how to get it, because you describe it in your book. This isn't the question, but this is the question before the question. One of these, maybe the Kaizen, or actually it was this one. It was this one, because I Kindled this one. I'm reading it on my phone when I have it.
I know you were reading them.
Yeah, no, I'm reading the book. So you were talking about how you took notes on the efficiencies and when little parts would burn out, and then you had like a log, and you would
nobody told
play
me to do it.
with
I was curious.
Yeah, you played with all these, and then you presented this really, really valuable stuff on these 6- and 7-figure machines and maintenance and preventative maintenance that save people all kinds of money. Yeah. And then you were able to even track the metrics of your value yourself to the organization, just because of the kind of over and above stuff you were doing. So
that's the principle.
I want to tap into that a little bit. So we're going to talk about your mindset here in a moment. So we're gonna make this choppable. So those of you that have the access to the giant lazy editing version, you've been watching the banter and. That means you're a VIP if you see this.
That's good stuff.
Because I hope you see the value that I saw. Because frankly, this isn't the video, but I just love. I have a number of friends that have been in the ghostwriting field, that have produced books for people, and I'd like to say, if you just assume, and I've got the receipts and the bank statements that utilize the semi-effective way that I was doing this heavy duty 5 years ago, 4 years ago, before a lot of other people made it mainstream. I've just had a heart to promote other people and help inspire other people to write their books. Now, unfortunately, in this case, I wasn't the key person, but you guys were just doing this gangbusters. You didn't need me to motivate them, and I just really respected that.
That's my motto, make it happen.
Make it happen.
It ain't gonna happen.
Yeah. So here on the table, we've got close to a dozen different books that Mack and his wife Ria have done, and it's just so close to my heart, and that's why I just want to shamelessly promote all of this, because I have no real. I was not a motivating influence. I just so happy that you just did it yourself with really no guidance. You didn't buy into any of these programs. You didn't buy into the program that I would launch soon after, or some of the other programs that are going on. You can do it all yourself, but you don't have to do it all yourself. But I just love all of this. So
yeah, I was just going to say it, and I don't say this to impress the folks, but to inspire them. I shared with you earlier. I said earlier too that I write my books in a week, but people don't misunderstand that I prepared to write them for 46 years, or for the one I just wrote, 48 years. Yeah. But I've been paid $20,000 to speak on this little 100-page book that I wrote in a week. To me, that's highly effective. That's good stuff.
I think so.
And so there's all kind of ways to do it. Some people need help, right? Ria and I coach people to do the same thing, and people connect with different people for different reasons. And the key is, if you've got a talent, help people. Yeah. Help people grow and develop and become more than they are today. So thank you for doing that. I hope I'm serving you. By doing this, you're serving me. I'm having fun. This is living all I want to do.
There's a new book out, and what we're in, Mack's in the zone, and I'm almost in the zone. I call it the zone, not the zone of excellence, but the zone of genius.
Okay.
And
remember 007.
Yeah, well, the 007. That's the zone of genius. That's maybe a little different kind of the license to kill limiting beliefs, which is what we're about to jump into right now.
I interrupt you.
No, this is good.
We're having fun.
All right. So welcome back, and we're talking to the back camera at this point. Welcome back. We're here with Mack Story of Top Story Leadership and BlueCollarLeadership.com. Really writing the book on a very, very powerful. It's not even a niche industry. It's not a niche. It is a major underutilized and under-recognized part of influence and leadership in our country today and in our world today. globally, internationally, absolutely huge. And the reason that we're here today is to ask Mack some questions. Our next question, Mack, has to do with your belief system. And you just said a little joke about 007. At one point, that was, he doesn't look like it, like that was his GPA, but apparently it was. I'm looking for the report card or the transcripts. I really want to put that in edit that back to show it and prove it, because I'm not sure I believe it either. But he's got a license to kill limiting beliefs. And my question for Mack right now is, how in the world did you, I mean, you don't look like you were, well, you kind of might look like you were born with the silver spoon in your mouth with this, but I know he wasn't. My question is, how did you go from having a 007 GPA to 007ing license to kill the limiting beliefs that were holding you back from your greatness in a manufacturing environment?
So how did I go about the actual transition, the transformation?
What happened on the inside?
I would say the I grew slowly, and what I'm going to share with you is the intentional piece. I was growing like everybody. All of us who are out working hard, want to get a better job, who want to make more money. We're all growing, but it's usually accidentally, not by design. It's by accident. So if you fast forward 20 years into my career, when I resigned from the corporate world and I started my own lean consulting business, a friend of mine had loaded he put a lot of music on my iPod, is what he was doing. And this was in 2005. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Hey, man," I said, when I was loading my music on your iPod, I was at my friend's house, and his dad has a business book. He said, "So I stuck that on there for you." I said, "What is it?" He said, "It's the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People." I said, "Is it any good?" He said, "I don't know." He had never read it, but he said, "My friend's dad said it's amazing." So 3 years, I never listened to it. And 3 years later, I'm driving around looking for clients for my consulting business, bored with my music, and I had my iPod plugged into my stereo, and I see across the screen comes 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I'm like, now I'm growing my business, trying to. I'm like, what is this business book? Maybe it'll help me. And so I hit play, and I didn't know at the time, but it was a 1-hour overview. It wasn't the whole book on audio. It was 13 hours or so. So I didn't know anything. I'd never read a leadership book. No company had ever invested 1 penny or 1 minute into professional leadership, any of this kind of content. Like the content that's in this book, I'd never heard any of this stuff formally. And so when I heard Dr. Covey, within 5 minutes probably on that video, he says, 2 things. First thing went by me, I didn't pay attention till later. I'll go back to that. The first thing that resonated with me was the second thing he said, really, but was between stimulus and response. Human beings have the freedom to choose their response. And I did a video, actually I hadn't released it out yet, but a little video kind of like this that'll be coming out on my Facebook and LinkedIn in a few weeks. But my favorite principle, most important principle I ever learned was between stimulus and response. Human beings have the freedom to pause and choose their response. That day when I heard it, I hit rewind because I'm like, Dr. Covey does not know this guy. I was what I would say a typical blue-collar guy who's very reactive on the front lines in the blue-collar workforce. All the thousands, if not tens of thousands of people that I've met and worked with, we are a reactive bunch of people. That's one reason a bunch of us stay on entry-level jobs in an entry-level position, but we don't want to because we're angry. We're angry at what we call the man. I mean, you hear people, it's a common term, the man, the boss. People who dress like me, most frontline people don't have anything to do with them. But it's because most people who dress like me do not truly value those people. If I go anywhere and there's a blue-collar person and I'm dressed like this, they can have grease on their hands. I'm shaking their hand. I ain't letting them wipe it off. I ain't letting them go wash it. I don't care. I'm shaking their hand. They're going to know I'm a real guy. And there's nothing, I don't care if my shirt gets dirty, I don't care. And I don't want to be dressed like this when I see them. But if I am, they're going to know it. If I see the janitor walking out of this building, I'm going to talk to the janitor. If I'm in the bathroom in this building washing my hands, I'm going to thank the janitor for keeping the restrooms clean. I do it everywhere I go. It's because of who I am. I don't care what I'm wearing or not wearing. So the thing Dr. Covey said before, between stimulus and response, we have the freedom to choose our response. And I got to add to that, I was the most reactive. I mean, I make the joke I was a chihuahua on steroids on acid with a machine gun. That's who I was in my young days, in my early 20s. I would just blow up. I looked for a reason to get angry. I loved it. I still love it, but it don't serve me. You were asking beliefs that don't serve me. And enjoying getting angry, I loved it. I still love it, but I do not do it. I don't do that anymore. And I learned it from that one principle. And I tell people all the time, a lot of people, I share quotes and memes and blogs and books. People will read a meme or a quote, but they don't do anything. They just like it. They click like. People will click like on this video, but they won't change anything. When I got exposed to this stuff, I had never heard it before. And I didn't need somebody to motivate and inspire me other than hearing it. That motivated it. It just naturally clicked with me. I mean, that was all I heard. And the first thing I heard that I said passed by me without me thinking of it was Dr. Covey. And I write it in front of some of my books, but I got it from him. He says, if you truly want to learn this content, you got to start teaching it to others within 24 to 48 hours. That was in 2008. Today, I've got 11 books. Ria's got 9 books. We've been paid $20,000 to speak on these books. And I had no idea that I would ever even be doing this. And I don't know what's to come, but this stuff that I teach and write about, and you teach and write about and talk about it, I don't just do it. I live it. And I live it. The suit is an example of it. I don't like the suit. This is an example of me. It
really doesn't.
I'm giving up to go up. It's called the law of sacrifice.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a long answer.
Yeah. Well, it's a good answer. And so what I'm doing, I'm kind of in the role of the white collar person that never had much of a blue collar job. Now I have to go back, and I have done temporary work. I've, believe it or not, worked on a farm a little bit, and a long time ago. And I did spend one summer kind of transitioning a little bit. And the job that I remember, it was the summer that Reagan died. And I remember on the factory where I think it was some kind of water pump manufacturing facility outside Akron, Ohio for a summer. And I just remember the nature of the work. It's easy to forget when you only work in an environment for a month or two. But I remember how my arms would get all scraped up from trying to assemble these boxes and put these heavy things in there. I remember meeting a Gulf War veteran that had a tendon injury, and he was able to do most of the work. I remember all that. So I'm thinking, what can kind of a more corporate person do to identify, to take this content and these life lessons that's just part of your DNA, Mac, even though you've got a suit and that's your adjustment. And it seems to me, and you can tell me what you think, that no matter what kind, you could be the CEO for life, you could be, one of the sons or daughters of our current administration who mostly cannot relate to this at all. But if you have the heart to relate, and if you can relate to maybe washing your own sink and washing your own toilet at home,
you're getting close.
Then
now.
You can get, hey, I deal with the dirt and the grime, and I'm going to go behind. I'm going to go past all that social stuff, and I'm going to start doing what I heard Max say, which is value the people that have the least valuable job, the least looked up upon job, the janitor, the night people, the hidden people. And that's also for people who happen to be people of faith. That's what Christ did all the time. He was washing feet and becoming the servant and all of that. And it's a historical principle, even if that's not a faith principle for those that are watching this. But the principal takeaway that I can use, that I'm going to use, because you just told me Stephen Covey speaking from the grave, telling me I have to teach this and learn it. So this is my teach.
And I started doing it.
Then you started doing it.
Then I started doing it on my lean teams. I mean, I started doing it literally. I got thousands and thousands of hours of doing it before I really started doing it, because I started doing it everywhere. My mom started reading the book. She transformed her life. So
we can all, and I can, and you can, we can start noticing the people that are just kind of hidden to us that we don't. And a lot of times, cleaning crews, they're coming. A lot of times, they're people. They're hardworking. They're immigrated into the country many times. They don't even speak the same language. So I mean, in that case, many cases, we got to find a way to cut through the barrier. So I think there's a story here.
Oh, you want to hear about this?
I want to hear about the story, because we're going to chop this stuff up afterward. I don't think we can do sound bites.
Okay.
Because this stuff is so rich.
It's too deep.
I don't think we can sound bite it. So you're watching the extended edition here.
Okay. So
tell me the story.
And you're talking about the different languages, right? Mm-hmm. So I want to talk to the people who are formal authority leaders, and we talked about high impact management and high impact leadership. Two different things. We manage things and processes. We have to, because those things and processes don't think and feel. This book does not care if I move it. If I move your chair over there and say you need to sit over here, you care. Mm-hmm. I should lead you, but I don't have to. I can manage you. So, and what we've learned is when someone follows you because they have to versus somebody following you because they want to, I've heard about numerous research studies, and I've validated it myself through my career, that there's a 40% or more difference in productivity of people following you because they want to versus have to. And most people don't understand that. And if you're a high-impact manager getting ridiculous, amazing results with people and everything's working out, there's still a difference between being a high-impact manager and being a high-impact leader. And, again, leadership is about influencing people. Management is about processes. And you can manage people. You can use them just like a tool. And that's what I'm saying, getting beyond that. Mm-hmm. So I got a little example. I was consulting in a company, and I've been there a lot of times. I'd go in on Monday and leave on Friday and lead a group of 6 to 8 people through a cross-functional process improvement event. And I'd been going there for years, so I knew a lot of people in a lot of different departments. So this day I'm in this department, and I know what we need some help with something that department over there can help us with. Like they were probably welding, and we needed something welded. So we can go over there and get these folks to weld this up for us and make this small improvement. So it just so happened there's a team leader over each department, then a supervisor over the team leader, and then there's a superintendent over these multiple supervisors. So I had like he probably was a low impact manager. He was not even a high impact manager because he was very insecure. So for me to go talk to that department, I had to go ask permission from him first. But I'm building relationships. I'm trying to connect with everybody. So I say, okay, to myself, I'm going to waste time, but in the long run, I'm going to build another relationship. So I'm not wasting time, right? I shouldn't have to talk to this guy, but I'm going to build a relationship with him so I can get him to help me in the future. So I go say, hey, sir, I need some help over there. You mind if I go ask these people? And he didn't mind because I did what he wanted me to do. All he wanted was control, and I gave it to him. And he said, oh, you can, but I'm going to have to get you an interpreter. He said, all of that department, nobody there speaks English. English. He doesn't speak. He only speaks English, so he has to have an interpreter to talk to him. I speak English and country. Sometimes at the same time. And so I said, but I knew these people. I said, okay, you mind if I go over there and wait while you get the interpreter? He said, okay. So I walk over there. I said, hey, Nathan, how's it going, man? He says, hey, Mac, how are you? They don't speak English. Mm-hmm. That's what I just heard from the manager of these people.
Oh.
But see,
there was more.
I'm a leader of these people.
Fully capable of.
We had the whole conversation. No. What can you do? And they laughed, they cut up, and we had it all addressed. And the interpreter shows up. I said, it's okay. We got it taken care of. I'm sorry you had to come out. I didn't badmouth anybody. I didn't say to the interpreter they speak English. I didn't say to the boss they speak English. I just made it happen. That's what I do. I make things happen. Mm-hmm. But I could do that. Those people trusted me. And see, they didn't have to trust me. Mm-hmm. They also didn't have to trust the leader. Mm-hmm. They had to respect the leader's position. That's the difference between respecting their leader, which is really I call a low-impact leader. There's so many semantics when you start talking. I use high-impact leader, low-impact leader, because you don't have to explain it. You have to explain manager versus leader.
Good point.
So what is this guy leaving on the table? He can't even speak to his team won't even speak to him, and he thinks they can't speak English. And they speak perfect English to me. They invite me to go hang out after work, which I didn't do it, but they invited me. They like me. What's he leaving on the table? He can't even go out and have a conversation with his own people.
More than 40% maybe in that case.
Because if they're holding back, they can't speak English. They holding back a whole lot of other stuff.
Really? Oh, you have to have an interpreter on site and everything else. So I just gave a talk that ties into the whole thing. It says that people problems can be managed, but people really need to be led.
They need to be, but they don't have to be. That's the key.
Yeah, for their full in the world that we're going into. You're the Kaizen guy, so for real efficiency, we've got to transition everybody, even the low impact leaders. We need to get the message out that manage problems, but learn how to lead people, and you lead by touching people and wanting to like people and acknowledging people and noticing people. So there is so much being left on the table, as you say,
everywhere.
all over the place, at the top, in the middle, in the bottom. I'm just so thankful that you are here to answer a few. This is just like a massive, massive brain pick here, and I hate brain pick. I mean, I hate when somebody's like, "Hey, come out with me. I want to pick your brain." That means something else. But this is extraction of gold, and it takes one to know one. And I know amazing potential. This is beyond potential. When you got 19 of these things that have come out of the brain, absolutely huge. Go to bluecollarleadership.com. Go to topstoryleadership.com. Find out more about this guy. And we're gonna go into our final question here. How are we doing on Facebook? We've got a couple of people. Again, I cannot see any comments, so I will circle back with questions for Mack as we have time. We're going into our final prepared question with Mack Story, the author of 19 books, him and his wife, Ria. And I cannot see the questions in real time or the comments, but if you put them, we are going to answer at least one of them. And then anything, when life gets back to 100 miles an hour for this guy instead of 1,000,000 miles an hour, then we're going to have Mack answer more. Maybe we'll do maybe another Facebook Live or a webinar or something like that, and we'll maybe even get Ria on the phone and just have a big old party for people.
As long as we're talking about this stuff, we got it all about this stuff.
No, I think we could
talk about nothing else but this.
Yeah, this is good stuff. So we're going to do a final question on knowledge transfer, just because I had written 9 years ago, I had written a book on open source instructional design, and it wasn't so much about programming. It was about what was going on 10 years ago in the open source movement, meaning not proprietary, just sharing code and improving on other people's ideas, and that was the idea. Programmers hated the title of the book that I wrote because they're like, it's not really about, that's a bad insinuate, but everybody else loved it, and it was a little bit sticky, kind of like blue collar leadership is legitimately sticky. So my next question for Mack is all about knowledge transfer, because in the corporate world and in the white collar world and the Fortune 50 world, that's a huge issue. And you know what? In the rest of the world, it's a huge issue. And this guy's written, show the Kaizen book. I mean, this is a guy. I mean, we've talked about this book about and where our books intersect. I don't have mine on hand, but open source instructional design is all about subject matter experts and transferring knowledge and having a culture of knowledge transfer. And I've got to say at this point, I mean, Mack and his wife Ria have done all kinds of programs with ATD, the Association for Talent Development. I've given presentations, so have they. This is where the Kaizen comes in. This is where the leadership comes in. And this is also where instructional design comes in and knowledge transfer. And even my friend Peggy Salvatore has written a book that was very much in line of my book, which is called Finding Your Subject Matter Experts. And it's all about, how to mine that while they're still in the employ of the organization before they do what you did, Mack. Leave the organization, become a Kaizen consultant, charge, 5 times, 10 times whatever your rate was, and go right back in the door and legitimately make money as a consultant. What we want to do is have the organizational lean to maximize the resource flow. So all of that was a really long build-up, and my apologies. However, it's all to hear. What are your best practices in the, in the blue collar and the manufacturing sector to be able to have a culture of sharing, a culture of subject matter expertise, even with people that have, greasy arms and, scraped up, scuffed up fingers a little bit? There's equally valuable knowledge in those environments. What are your thoughts as to what would make the difference to be able to open up those storehouses of knowledge and preserve it and document it?
Okay. So I got a little story I'm going to tell you on that.
Yeah.
And really, telling stories is one way to do it. And Ria and I talk about this a lot from the stage. And what we talk about is conscious learning versus subconscious learning. Mm-hmm. So when we tell a story, and I'll just teach that point because I'm about to do it, so to speak. But part of it is, if I come out and tell you what to do, as soon as I start telling you what to do, I'm talking to your conscious mind. And your conscious mind listens like this. Who are you? I don't know you. You don't know me. Who are you? That's what happens. Your conscious mind listens like this. And when we tell a story, you're listening. Does this apply to me? Is there something in there that resonates and it brings you in? Telling somebody what to do pushes them away. Telling a story brings them in. Conscious mind listens like this. Subconscious mind listens like this. And so when you tell a story, you're speaking to their subconscious mind. And so I tell a lot of stories. So I'm going to tell a story with you about me telling a story to a frontline factory worker about getting the knowledge. And this is so critical to leaders. They miss the whole point. This was kind of hilarious. So I'm walking through this industrial plant in Texas, and a guy pulls up on a forklift. And I've been going there for about a year or so. And they had if you know about lean, Toyota's like the world's lean benchmark. Anybody worked at Toyota, they automatically a big-time consultant if they want to be, and they get the big bucks, whether they really know what to do or not. And so they had a guy there for a year before me, a Toyota guy who worked at Toyota for 10 years. And they, based on what they were saying, they couldn't wait for him to leave for my contract to start. They just were not pleased with him. And I don't know the guy. That's just what they were saying. And that's what matters because they were his customer. And so a year past my time being there, I'm walking across the floor. The forklift driver pulls up. He said, "Hey, Mac," he said, "I want you to know we really like you." I said, "Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. That means a lot to me." He said, we didn't really like that other consultant." And this is a frontline entry-level forklift driver. I said, "Why? Why didn't you like the other guy?" And he said, "Well, they just hired him to tell us what to do." I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "What did they hire me to do?" This is the funny part. He said, "I really don't know. You don't even know what I'm doing, but he likes me." I said, "Look," I said, "I'm about to tell you something." I kind of lean like this. I said, "I'm about to tell you something. This is top secret stuff. You made that nice comment about me. I'm going to let you in on some inside scoop, right? I'm building my relationship." And he's really leaning in. I said, "What I'm about to tell you, you cannot go tell it." He said, "Okay." I said, "I'm going to tell you what they pay me to do." I said, they paid the other guy to tell you guys what to do, right?" He said, "Yep." I said, "They pay me," stay with me now. I said, "They pay me to get them to listen to you." I said, "But if they knew they were paying me to get them to listen to you, they could just fire me and start listening to you, and they could save a lot of money." I said, "But," I said, I need a living too, right?" And he got it. And that's what I would do as a consultant. I come in and teach them a little stuff, but before I did that, I built a relationship. I think you said you read it, Blue Collar Kaizen.
I absolutely did.
I got a rule called the 20-80 rule, not the Pareto principle. But what I mean is that however much time I get with a team, say a week in that case, first 4 hours, I'm going to spend 20% of that week on personal growth leadership development. So 8 out of 40 hours is the 20%. The first 4 hours on Monday, I'm building a relationship. I'm pouring into them. I'm talking about this kind of stuff relative to them and their world and their home and their life and all that sort of stuff. So by noon on Monday, we actually by 8:15 on Monday, we connected, and I'm good to go. So I pour into them. And then we move into the principles behind process improvement relative to whatever we're going to do that week. So then I start teaching them that, and then we go out and we do a current state analysis, and then we go out, develop a plan, then we execute the plan, then we do a future state analysis, and Friday we present out to the group. But every Monday is 4 hours, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 1 hour every morning to recharge. I call it priming the pump, getting these folks ready. And the low-impact managers or low-impact leaders, they don't like all this stuff. They want us to be on the floor doing something. That's why I'm there. But see, they like to go fast to go slow. High-impact leader likes to go slow to go fast. And I'm running the show. And if I don't get results, I don't come back next week. But every week, out of 11,000 hours from 2005 to 2012, I never had a bad team. And it's not because I'm good. I'm just a regular old guy. These principles are good. They're timeless and they're proven. And what I have to do is believe in the people and connect with the people. So if you want the knowledge transfer to stick, you got to tell stories. You can't come put up a PowerPoint and read it 15 points on one slide to them and flip it and read 15 more points and they're like, that's...
There's a term for that,
I don't know.
Death by PowerPoint.
You can't do that to them, and you got to tell them some stories. And see, and I had to learn this because I used to come in and do death by PowerPoint, but I would do it with this energy. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to teach. I knew so much stuff. I wanted to dump it in. Then I figured out none of it was sticky. So if I teach one point and tell 25, 30 minutes worth of stories, they got the point. And then teach another point, tell them 25, 30 minutes worth of stories from my life. See, that's the key. I had to be living. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to leadership, I got to say this, Nathan. I don't know if I'm making it too long.
You're good.
Anybody who knows about lean knows that when you learn lean principles, there's a term out there that says, put on your lean glasses. You learn to see the waste. When you start teaching leadership principles, which are character-based principles, you put on another set of glasses, and now you can see people's character. Mm-hmm. Lean allows you to see the waste in a process. Leadership development allows you to see lack of character or high-quality character in a person. And what people are going to do, I'm one of them, you're one of them. As soon as you start learning about character, people don't look in the mirror where they need to look. They look out the window. They use their glasses to look and see how everybody else is doing. Mm-hmm. And the first person they see when they put these glasses on, because you're going to put the glasses on the people. So if I take these leadership glasses on Monday morning and I start teaching character, and I slide this set of glasses on Nathan, who's he looking at when I put them on? He's looking at me. The first person they're going to see with their character glasses is the person that's teaching it. And in the talent development world, this is what we do for ATD a lot. I mean, we speak to the talent development people, how to do the competency piece, but how do they need to be while they're training and developing other people. And when you're teaching, we talk about PowerPoint as a joke. When you're teaching PowerPoint, your character don't matter a lot. As long as what you're teaching is accurate, you can, and the people like your teaching style, you can teach how to use PowerPoint. People can listen and learn, and they can go do it effectively. But as soon as you start teaching leadership, they got the character glasses on. You've got to be modeling it. They have to have, because these glasses are like, they're worse than X-ray vision, Nathan. They can't just see through you. They can see into the past. You teach them between stimulus and response. We have the freedom to choose our response, which means nobody makes you mad. You choose to be mad. And then I say, oh, I saw Mack out there. He was talking to so-and-so the other week, and he just lost it. He blew up. Or I have a reputation for a short temper. You know, everybody knows it. I can't go teach between stimulus and response effectively. That's why I don't get angry anymore. I learned that principle. It doesn't matter. Like you said, you was joking with me. I was like patient as Job earlier, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the patience
between stimulus
Job.
and response, you have the freedom to choose your response. If you're reactive, you respond based on feelings. Like, what's he doing? He's taking forever. He's unorganized. You know, all that stuff. Or I can choose to respond based on values as a proactive person. I'm here to serve Nathan. He was in a rush because he's worried about me.
I was taking forever setting up all of the cameras.
You were really more concerned about me because it was taking you any amount of time, right? And I'm thinking I'm here to serve you. So let him relax. Say, it's okay. I got plenty of time. And that's that one principle. I literally live it and think of it unconsciously all day long, every day.
So takeaway for all of us is this is a man that has learned how to choose his attitude the same way he chooses his clothes. And this is not not his normal get up. Actually, it's not even. You look great when I saw you, but he insisted on changing into a suit.
I don't want to let you people down, man. I don't know what they're expecting.
So this really is the guy that wrote this book on blue collar leadership.
I changed the cover, the picture on the back. It used to have me in the suit. My old books.
There you go.
See, my old books.
Yeah, let's show the folks here. So the old book is the suit, and I agree with the new book. Lose that tie. Lose the tie. Mack, thanks so much for coming today and adding extreme value to all of us. I know I'm going to be reaching out to ATD chapters and different people in that performance space as well. Thanks for your time.
All right, thank you.
Now, back to you guys. And we're talking about keeping our promises. So let's see what questions we may have. And I'm going to take at least one of these questions. And I see our friend Steve Goebel there, who does a rocking Live to Lead with hundreds and hundreds of people. And I do not yet see the comments. Where are the comments? Oh, look at this. We've got all kinds of friends. Paul Gustafson, Bob English. Oh my gosh, John Knuthia up the street. Sharon Clark, awesome, in my mastermind group. Got all kinds of, but I don't see any comments. So what we're going to do here, folks, is thanks for watching, and we're going to put this up on YouTube with the double speed option from your laptop. That's important because it's like, I don't know about you. You probably don't have any time to watch anybody else's old expired Facebook Lives, but I want people to watch my old expired Facebook, and I want them to do it double speed so that they can really absorb this stuff. So we're going to put it on Facebook Live. We're going to extend the offer. So if you're watching this slow speed or on YouTube at double speed, and you're like, man, gosh, I manage a plant, or my uncle does, or my cousin does, or my wife does, or my husband does, or anything related to these, we're going to do a follow-up when you get back to Atlanta, where you now live. You were in Alabama. You moved to the big city.
Need to be by the airport.
Yeah, got to be. Smart guy. Kaizen efficiency, right?
Absolutely.
He moved to the biggest airport in the world, or used to be at least at one point. So
one way.
Here's what we're going to do. So you're watching this, say, oh, shoot, shucks, I missed my chance to save hundreds of dollars and not have to reach out for a private brain pick. We're going to extend the offer, and we're going to just get back on a line or Facebook Live or webinar, and we're going to kind of craft something for the audience, because I mean there's just so much that we can talk about.
I'm going to give them a lesson right here too. Another lesson. I don't think you'll mind.
I
we'll
won't
still
mind.
Do what you're
Whatever
talking
you want
about.
to say, yeah.
But it's one thing I do a lot. Sometimes I forget. It's not because I don't want to do it. Like right now, I remembered I'm going to do it. Ask, can I do it? So the key is, if you want to talk to me because you've been watching this video, my cell phone number that's usually on my hip, 334.
No, don't give it out.
728-4143. I mean,
say
I
it
tell
again.
people.
I crowded. He actually wanted to do that. I was
I do it
trying
all the
to.
time.
I was
People
trying to
like,
be the
"Don't do that."
wingman here.
Yeah, 334-728-4143. And I tell people, if you want to talk about leadership, development, personal growth, and I don't talk to the same people over and over, but I've talked to some people. I talked to one guy not too long ago from midnight to 5 o'clock in the morning. Somebody I don't even know connected with me on LinkedIn. I told him, you got me. Nothing's on my schedule. I'll talk to you, but next time it's not free. And the reason is I do it for free all the time, but I don't do it for the same person. Mm-hmm. That's how I add value to the masses. And that guy, he never hired me, but he got certified through the John Maxwell team. Mm-hmm. I mean, and I don't care if he did or he didn't, but he took that. He's got blogs. He's got his LLC set up. People like that, I don't know who they are, where they are, but they just need a spark. And that's so. My thing is, I give out tons and tons of sparks. I give out my number. You're not going to disturb me if you call me at night. I'm not going to know you called. I'm going to be sleeping. You call me while I'm talking to Nathan. My phone's somewhere in the room and it's not ringing. You're not going to bother me. If I'm available, I'm going to have it and I'm going to answer it. And we're going to have a chat. I may say I got 10 minutes. I may say I got 3 hours. If you get tired in 10 minutes, we'll hang up. So that's why I put my number out, because we need to be accessible. If we want to help people, they need to be able to call me. If I can't answer that, I'm busy. But if I can answer, I can help.
There you go. So my hope is that this, if you're watching the replay or if you're even online right now, let this be, get my finger in the camera here, the lower camera. Let this be your spark today. We're looking at somebody that has transformed himself. All it took was belief. All it took was a relational connection as opposed to a production performance connection. This guy's life completely changed. He started adding value to himself. You know, we don't add value to ourselves until we see the value in ourselves. And you had a manager that came out from the blue who you knew cared. An engineer that cared about you, and he just released that word of value to you.
It's amazing.
And you used that mirror principle that he saw in you. And then from that day, this man's life was absolutely changed. He's listening to Stephen Covey audio books. He's showing up in a suit. He's going to a tailor and buying a suit. Oh, my gosh. So, anyway.
They look a lot better when you do that.
A lot better. All right, that's it. We're shutting it down. Thanks you so much for being part of this. And share this on Facebook, on LinkedIn. whatever he is. If you want to thank Mack and his wife Ria for adding value, just show all the books here. We're gonna, we're gonna see all the. Look at this. These are all different. These are different books. This is what knowledge transfer looks like, people. This is what adding value to other people and actually doing things that you didn't want to really write that first book, did you? This was not.
I did want to.
Well, you did, but I mean, it was not a normal thing.
No.
I mean,
Can we talk about that?
Please, yeah. It didn't just.
No.
Oh, yippee! Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever.
So I talked earlier about 2008. Heard that 1 hour audio. That started I started basically reading leadership development, personal growth books daily. I still do, and always will the rest of my life. And so I grew tremendously for the next 4 years. I mean, it changed my personal relationship with my father, who I hadn't spoken with for basically 20-something years. My teenage son, who hadn't spoken to me for 2 years. I mean, that's the personal side we hadn't talked about. Mm-hmm. And that's another reason it gives me credibility and authenticity. When I'm on stage, I tell personal and business, both sides of it. Mm-hmm. We've been talking about the business side, but the people, when you're talking about blue-collar people, they buy into the personal stories. They want to know how they can make their life better. Mm-hmm. If you can help them, they'll go do the job. They already know how to do the job. 40%, though, they hold it back. All you want to do is let go of that. You don't have to take them through a Kaizen event. So when I finally, after 4 years, just like I said, I heard him say, if you want to learn it, start teaching it. I started teaching it in 2008 in every Kaizen event. And eventually, I grew my influence to where these companies wanted me to teach leadership. So instead of doing a Kaizen event all week, I did something called a lean leadership certification. And I would take them, about 80% of the week was leadership development stuff. And 20% was just overview of lean and the tools. Just a high level, this is what they are so they know about it. Because we're trying to get the mindset right before we teach them the tool set and the skill set. So after all of that, I realized, I thought my passion and purpose was process improvement. But through all of that, I realized these people, I had something to say. And I realized my story, my personal transformation was becoming powerful in the sense of influence. Before, I was just saying, hey, let me put this audio in and hit play, and I'm learning this. Y'all listen to it and see if you value it. And they did. And so I brought it in, and then I started reading, so I'm teaching what I'm reading and that stuff. And then I decided, hey, I want to try to get out and go external. But now I can't teach all these people stuff, so I got to have some stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's where I heard, this was in 2012, if Les Brown says coincidence is God's way of staying anonymous, my favorite quote from Les, and I was not a Christian at this time that I heard him saying that, and that I even met John Maxwell, but I'm sitting at home one day and I'm doing something on a Saturday morning, and on my screen it pops up, John Maxwell's hosting a day about books. And I knew who John was by that time. I knew he had written at that time 70, 80 books, and he was doing what I wanted to do the way I wanted to do it. And I know that's who you go learn from. And I had been investing in myself buying books for years. And that was the first time I invested in myself. And I think it was $800 the ticket I bought for 2 tickets for $800 a piece. It took me and my 19-year-old son, who is now talking to me again, and invested in him. And we went to this Day About Books event where John talked about, had his publisher, Michael Hyatt, all these folks. And then I learned you could get certified by John and stand on his shoulders and teach his content. So I was like, oh, that's a head start. I joined that too, and 2 times, me and Eric. So that was $10,000 I spent down there and signed us up. And then I learned about mentorship and paid another $6,000. And then took Ria, and we took my mom, and we went back. And I got to say, look what you and Ria are doing. And I also got to say, we actually, you don't remember this, but we competed against each other. And you won, and you got to tour with Les. I didn't win. Ria won. I got to tag along.
Oh, well, Ria whipped us both then.
Ria, see, I got to speak because I'm married to Ria.
Yeah.
That's a funny story. When
we got to give Ria a shout out because she's rehearsing, a floor below us right now for her event tomorrow, which is just going to be spectacular. Yeah. I mean, you guys are going to want to spread Ria's message, and it's going to be in the best packaging, believe me, in the best branding, the best packaging you possibly can. Show the book. It's going to be
powerful. Yeah. So that first book, I decided I wanted to write my book. Mm-hmm. So that was in 2012. I signed up for the day.
Show the live people the book. There you go.
The Day About Books.
We've got 2 cameras going here.
Yeah, this is a defining influence. Increasing your influence increases your options. So 2012. I released this in 2014, so it took me a year and a half because when I discovered all the John Maxwell stuff, I just kind of jumped in, dipped my toe in there for a while, soaked up some stuff like a sponge, and then Ria and I moved on. You know, I tell people it's just a feather in our cap. We don't really even tell people we're really a part of anything to do with that anymore. But so, I mean, I didn't go there to join the John Maxwell team. I went to see John in June of 2012 because I wanted to write books, and now we've written.
There you go.
And that was my mission from the beginning. But I noticed, there's some other stuff I can grab while I'm here, and so 2014 I decided to write this book. This one's I got to change the font. It's too small, but it's going to end up probably being, it's over 200 pages now, so it's going to be about 250 pages.
So volume 1, volume 2.
My first book. I wrote it in 11 days.
Book. And I remember seeing your post. I'm like, wow, this guy's work ethic is off the chart. But it's an easier kind of. I mean, when you've done 100+ hours, I have a appreciation for people that put in 100+ weeks because I'm born to one and I'm also married to one, and both of them happen to be in the medical field. My father's a doctor who did a residency, and he was 100-hour plus. That's what doctors do. I know not everybody really has the same appreciation for doctors or medicine, and there's all kinds of there's a little bit of a backlash or an undercurrent. But I mean, doctors work that hard. My wife worked that hard in residency. I appreciate that. I respect that. But I also respect factory work 7 days a week. 12, 13, 14, 15-hour days like you talk about.
My longest day was about 26 hours.
That's not a day. That's the point. That's not a longest day. That's impossible.
You want to hear that story? I don't know. It's your
Go. We've got you. It's your time, man. See, this is great. Being able to pull out.
You're going to have to turn it off.
No, I'm not. They're going to die. I'm surprised the technology hasn't died. See, this is great because you think a hard day is working beyond a technical day, and here I am just getting all kinds of great content out of you. So, so tell us the story.
So the story is, I would never have worked 26 hours for the boss. I was actually at the highest level I was ever at in the corporate world. I was a quality manager and a lean manager at the same time, reporting to the plant manager responsible for the plant. Plus, I was leading Kaizen events in the United States and Mexico at our other plants because I was working at a multi-billion-dollar global company. And by that time, I was influencing outside of our own plant. But the reason I worked those 26 hours or whatever, 7 in the morning till about 8:30 the next morning. 7, one day to 8:30 the next day in the morning. And the reason I did that was I let my team down. I didn't get paid for that. I was on salary. I didn't have to do that. My team didn't even expect me to do it. My plant manager didn't even know that it was an issue that I needed to do it. He didn't. My boss, he wasn't involved. He didn't know this. I did this because of who I was as a person and because I valued this team. So what we were doing was a huge 5S event in a liquid painting area. And they had worked, it was a huge team too, like 12 or 15 people. And the whole point was to clean it, the walls, the paint booth, inside, outside, all this stuff. And we were transitioning this plant. When I started working there, people looking for inventory, they had to have a flashlight. It's so dark in this plant. The lighting was pitiful. And they had flashlights to find numbers, in inventory. So we had already replaced all the lighting. We had been painting the walls in sections of pure white. We painted the entire ceiling white. We got new lights. We painted all the walls. And this is a dirty, nasty welding plant. So there's a lot of fumes, a lot of smoke. Put in 3 huge collectors to circulate the air to get the dust out and the smoke out. So this was just a part of that. So we were in that paint area. And they had been preparing, and they were going to paint on Thursday. All these people were going to, you do a lot of painting with 12 or 15 people in an 8-hour day. So that morning, I do what I always do. The Sherwin-Williams folks always have paint. So I get up. When I get there, I go to get the little van we had and go across town 6 miles to get the paint. And there was no paint. And see, that's first principle between stimulus and response. Because the whole thing about between stimulus and response, responding based on values, is it says we're responsible. Because I used to think short temper run in my family until I learned that principle. Then I found out irresponsibility runs in my family. We don't choose our response based on values. So I didn't have any paint. They couldn't get any paint. Another company, just by circumstance or coincidence, got all the paint. So now they don't have any paint. So they found some other stuff to do. They were productive, but I let them down. They were wanting to paint because they were going to do the final presentation on Friday. present their achievement. That's the way we always do it. Go from nothing to something special on Friday. Not just a plan, we actually would do it. And so I start calling around, and I find out a couple hours round trip, I could go get the paint. And so I was going to go do that. And they probably would have painted on Friday and then presented on Monday. And nobody would have cared. But they didn't even know when they were going to do it. I had to find the paint. So I went and got the paint. By the time I got back, it was 4 o'clock that afternoon. And they were getting off work. So, I mean, my boss didn't know. It just is who I am. I just went and found the Tyvek suit. I got the sprayer out. And literally, Nathan, I don't know how or why. I didn't ever take that mask off. I didn't go to a bathroom break. I didn't eat a chip. I didn't get a drink. I sprayed paint from 4 o'clock, whatever, Thursday afternoon until 7 o'clock in the morning till there was somebody come in. But it was almost all done. All they had to do was touch it up.
You did the work of your entire crew.
Well, they would have done a lot better than
they
more
would have
than
done
me.
More and better, but you did enough to close it up, and you had, I forget how many, 10, 12 people on the crew.
And the thing is,
you just pulled the all-nighter.
Yeah, when they come in,
amazing.
They thought Santa Claus had come. I mean, we didn't have any paint yesterday, and then who painted it? And I'm still sitting there painting when they come in. And I didn't. What do you think happened to my influence as a leader within that plant?
Yeah.
What do you think everybody? Yeah. And I didn't do it for this reason.
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't understand this enough to know that was even going to happen. I was learning by accident back then. But everybody talked about me. I told them, I said, I'm going home, taking a shower, and I'm going to take a nap. And you guys get ready for the presentation. And I came back, and at 2 o'clock, they pulled out the presentation. And I always stand in the back of the room. The events are never about me. It's about the people. The people who are hiring me, they know I can do it. That's why they're paying me and hiring me. What they don't know is, can these people do it? And they can't get these people to do it. But I walk in on Monday and don't know these people. And what they do is I tell them, this is what your team's capable of if you'll raise your leadership umbrella up so they can get under it. Because these people already knew how to do all this stuff. And so that's the story behind that is, and that's another sacrifice. You got to give up. That's what most leaders won't do. They won't stay late. Most people with a leadership position won't read a book if the company buys it for them. And that's okay, but that's management. That ain't leadership. And things like that, I talk about I quit drinking alcohol. That's why I was 007. I got to school early at 7:30 for an 8 o'clock class, but that's so I could drink vodka before class. Yeah. That's why that makes sense now, 007, right? Yeah. But I haven't drank alcohol since May of 2012. And I went to John's Day About Books in June of 2012. It's amazing. I quit drinking. I quit using profanity. And I hadn't had a drop since. I never will. I don't use
this was a habit of decades.
Well, from 15 years old till 42 years old. I was the guy, you'd see me on Saturday at tailgating or out by my pool with a bottle of 151 drinking shots. Not just drinking beer. But I'd go months without drinking. I mean, I wasn't a daily drinker, but when I drank, you tell I'd do everything kind of wide open. So when I was drinking, this is who I am. I drink a lot. But I may not drink for days. But that's part of all this stuff. I transformed my life. And when I tell people from the stage, I tell all these stories from the stage. And I say, I didn't give up drinking for me. I say, I give up drinking for you. I give it up for you. If I was that guy, you wouldn't be talking to me. All these people I want to help with this blue-collar book, nobody would want me to be helping them. The blue-collar people, a lot of them drink, and that's okay. I don't judge them. But they don't care that I don't drink. But they've got respect that I say, I started learning this, and I changed my life. And I can go drink today and have fun. I had fun doing it. But I quit doing it because I want to make a bigger impact with other people. That's why I quit using profanity. People don't care if I don't use profanity. They don't care if I do drink. If I don't drink. But there are people who do care. And I want to influence the person who does care and that don't care. So if I've got to influence the person who don't care and the one who does care, that means I got to not drink. And I'm okay with that because it's just a value. I value something higher, so I didn't really have to give it up. It fell away. And companies who are talking about transforming their culture, that they don't have to quit drinking. I'm changing the subject. But I have people a lot of times talk to me and they'll say, we want to transform our culture. And I'll say, do you really know what that means? That means you want everybody in this company to change their values, starting with you. If you want to change the culture, do you want to change your values? Because if you don't change your values, the culture is not going to change, because the culture is a reflection today of your values as the leader.
So I've got to throw in a couple of things right here. Last Friday, we did a special simulcast, Live to Lead, with John Maxwell, who we're talking about leadership principles, and actually that's how we met. I've got to throw in my partner for that event, who had actually built that event up over, this is his third year, and then I came alongside to help co-lead that event.
Okay.
He is working on a thesis that is exactly what you were just talking about. It's what happens when we take our personal transformation that you're talking about, and we marry that transformation with culture. It goes from one person transformed, and then it's spread. And both of us, we were in Guatemala together.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw with our own eyes the transformation of an entire nation.
That's beginnings. What sparked Ria. That's what launched Ria like a rock. She resigned from. She got 10 years of school and a 4.0 all the way through her MBA. And she resigned 3 months or 3 weeks after returning from that trip.
So we saw the impact, and it's this idea of spreading from the one to the many. I'm transformed, you're transformed, Ria's transformed. But what happens when we're able to go viral with that? And each person not managing themselves, but leading themselves and letting it fall away because they see it in light of a greater value. I want you to speak to something that's transformational leader. That's not just transformation.
No, that's a completely different
That's
level.
not even intentional living for one person, but that's when we corporate it. And you've got to look at what my friend Scott Walker is putting out or about to put out. If you're in his inner circle, he's going to start dripping some of that stuff out. What I want to do right now, 40 seconds left, okay? 40, and nobody believes me. We talk about character and being part of your word, but maybe this isn't quite that severe, but and nobody will mind. What I'd love for you to speak to is there's so many people that know if they're not there themselves. You're talking about the habit of swearing or cussing or drinking or just not being your best self. And that's really something that every single person watching this Facebook Live or watching this edited video over there, as we have a couple of cameras going on, everybody is cluing in on that. So I'm going to give you 40 last seconds, and I want you to say something to inspire every single person watching this to let go of less than their best self. What could you say to them?
I'm going to say, first thing is, I assume you want to be better, you want to do more, be more, have more, that sort of stuff. Assuming you're that person, I want you to know one thing, and I want you to think about it. First, I got a question. Do you like two-faced people? I've never had anybody anywhere raise their hand and say, yeah, I like two-faced people. But I see two-faced people everywhere. And what I mean is, who you are sometime is who you are all the time. When it comes to character, who you are sometimes, who you are all the time. When I was drinking, Ria's grandparents didn't even know I drank. Other people didn't know I cussed because I was somebody else. I was 20 faces. So that's what I want to leave you with. How many faces are you? Because you need to become aligned with who you want to be, but then you've got to be that person, and then you'll get the results that person will get.
Mack Story, bluecollarleadership.com, topstoryleadership.com. Well over and above. Unfortunately, we're not going for another 24, 25 hours with this. So take care, everybody. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Facebook Live. Again, send us your questions, and we'll do a recap of any questions that you may have watching the replay. Take care, everybody. Time for lunch.